Did you know vote buying and vote selling is a criminal offense? Under Nigerian law, the punishments for vote buying and selling includes a fine of 5 million naira, a 2-year jail term, or both. Through strict legislative updates to the repealed Electoral Act 2022 ahead of the upcoming general elections, the National Assembly significantly stiffened these penalties. Under the current legal framework, Section 22 of the new Electoral Act 2026, the fine was escalated from previous limits, which capped punishment at 500,000 naira and 12 months in prison, to not less than 5 million naira and a jail term of not less than 2 years. Additionally, convicted offenders face a mandatory 10-year ban from contesting any election in Nigeria. The stiffened penalties apply explicitly to anyone who unlawfully possesses a voter's card, sells or attempts to sell a voter's card, buys or offers to buy a vote, or sells and offers to sell a vote. All voters are advised against selling their votes. If votes don't count, who would try to buy them? Stay updated on our latest series of voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment Campaign.
Adbn, a part of you. Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn, a part of you. Adbn, a part of you.
Hello, good morning, and a warm welcome to Adbn News at 7. I am Chijioke Okafor. Now on the news in detail. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has appointed Dr. Wasiu Olarewaju Smart as Special Advisor on National Assembly Matters, House of Representatives, replacing Honorable Ibrahim Olarewaju, who resigned to contest an elective position in his home state. Olarewaju Smart, a public policy expert, holds a PhD in educational management from Leeds City University and a master's in public administration from Harvard University. He has also held academic and policy fellowships at Harvard Kennedy School, MIT, and Quantum Alliance AI USA. He previously served in several strategic roles at the House of Representatives, including Chief of Staff to the Speaker, before joining other intergovernmental affairs. President Tinubu expressed confidence that Olarewaju Smart will strengthen coordination between the presidency, ministries, departments and agencies, and the House of Representatives. The appointment takes effect immediately. The All Progressives Congress, APC, has constituted its National Campaign Council and 12 specialized subcommittees ahead of the August 15th Osun State governorship election. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma will chair the 276-member campaign council, while Yobe State Governor Maimala Buni, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, and Speaker Tajuddin Abbas will serve as co-chairmen. The party said the council includes governors, members of the National Working Committee, National Assembly leaders, ministers, lawmakers, former governors, and other party stakeholders. It also established 12 subcommittees to oversee areas including campaign management, media, security, logistics, finance, youth, women, and grassroots mobilization. The APC said the committees will be led by senior party figures including Godswill Akpabio, Ibikunle Amosun, Tanko Albakura, Simon Lalong, Idris Wasi, Yahaya Bello, Pauline Tallinn, and Pius Odubu. The National Campaign Council and its subcommittees will be inaugurated on Tuesday, July 28, at the Transcorp Hilton, Abuja. Moving on, ActionAid Nigeria, in collaboration with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the Movement for the Transformation of Nigeria, MOTION, have organized the youth-focused civic engagement festival themed Turn Up for Democracy Fiesta to promote youth voter participation ahead of the 2027 election. The event, which held in Abuja, featured on-site voter registration and card resolution services alongside funfair. Our correspondent reports.
With time ticking down towards the end of a 2-week extension from the original July 10 deadline for continuous voter registration as provided by INEC, this festival provides a last-minute window for more eligible citizens to access the INEC Voter Service Desk, either to register for the first time, apply for transfer of polling unit, or seek replacements of damaged or lost PVCs.
It's actually an idea from ActionAid, and ActionAid brought INEC in to see how we can partner to ensure that youths are the main target of this program, so that youth can come out to ensure that they are actually registered to vote in the forthcoming election.
This is the start of this. This is like the piloting it at the urban center at FCT. So there are other programs that are targeted at grassroots. So there will be markets engagement, town hall engagement, so different kinds of engagement at those grassroots levels.
In separate remarks, the event organizers underscored the importance of free civic awareness concerts aimed at mobilizing young citizens to participate in the elections.
Turn up for democracy. Democracy begins when the people make that decision to be part and parcel of their own government, of their own system. And that process starts when people take part in voter registration exercise.
The whole essence of this is to deal with the problem. What is the problem? The voter apathy issue in the country. And we discovered that the largest number of population fall within the demographic of the youth in Nigeria, which is about above 60%. So if 60% of your population is not really turning out to vote, I think there's a problem.
Some participants who spoke to ADBN News expressed delight at the opportunity as the extended CVR deadline closes July 26, 2026.
This is the hope for tomorrow. This is our future. So if we don't get to vote, we don't get to have that better Nigeria we're all clamoring for.
To be honest, the process has been very seamless, everything well organized. I really commend the officials, both the INEC and the Action Aid officials. Everything was very timely, well organized. The system worked perfectly, and I really want to commend them and appreciate them.
The event, organized by Action Aid Nigeria in partnership with the INEC, specifically targets youth demographics. It is a registration party here in Abuja. Vito Bryan, Adbn News.
Nigeria has renewed its call for deeper engagement with global diaspora community, describing Nigerians abroad as critical partners in national development. At the 2026 National Diaspora Day celebration in Abuja, government officials, diaspora leaders, and development stakeholders highlighted the growing role of Nigerians overseas in healthcare, education, technology, and investment, while outlining new initiatives aimed at strengthening ties between the diaspora and the country. Our diplomatic correspondent, Amma Marcus, tells us more.
For millions of Nigerians living abroad, their connection to home extends beyond remittances. At this year's National Diaspora Day celebrations in Abuja, that relationship took center stage as government officials and diaspora stakeholders examined how overseas expertise can support national development. Representing President Bola Tinubu, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation said the administration's engagement with the diaspora aligns with its foreign policy priorities.
To support this vision, we create a platform that will institutionalize the diaspora healthcare impact initiatives to coordinate contributions, offering incentives to diaspora medical professionals who return to practice or invest, and ensuring transparency so that every effort delivers measurable impact.
Among the government's priorities are expanding diaspora medical missions, strengthening partnerships between universities and teaching hospitals. The chairperson of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, highlighted progress already being made through the Diaspora Health Impacts Initiative, while the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs stressed that sustained progress would depend not only on investments, but also on stronger unity among Nigerians abroad.
Our medical practitioners and nurses are now doing remote surgeries and training Nigerian healthcare personnel. Now, this year, the first DHII 2026 took a zonal approach. They've gone to the 6 zones of Nigeria.
At the subnational level, states are also seeking to strengthen engagement with their diaspora communities. The Director General of the Edo State Diaspora Agency, Dr. Loretta Odurare, announced plans to launch a new digital platform.
Our web portal is going live very, very soon, and this will harness a lot of data and allow us to be able to account for our Edo State people in the diaspora, while also allowing them to engage with the state.
We are looking forward to a situation where they can actually create solid platforms or strategic platforms where you can actually engage the diaspora basically.
Throughout the day, we've seen policymakers, healthcare professionals, and Nigerians from across the diaspora, and they have all explored practical ways to strengthen the country's health system through knowledge exchange, skills transfer, and also long-term collaboration. Well, the challenge after this event today will be turning today's commitments into measurable action, ones that can deliver lasting benefits for the Nigerians all around the world. From Diaspora Day 2026, I am Amma Marcus, reporting for Adbn News.
Elsewhere, the National Identity Management Commission and the National Population Commission have deepened their partnership to automatically issue national identification numbers (NIN) to newborns immediately upon birth registration, while pledging to fast-track Nigeria's digital identity drive. The resolution was reached when NPC Chairman Dr. Aminu Yusuf led a delegation on a courtesy visit to NIMSI headquarters in Abuja.
Both NPC and NIMSI share inherently complementary mandates in advancing the federal government's vision of a robust digital identity ecosystem anchored on the principle of one person, one identity. And as such, this collaboration integrates the NPC's newly deployed electronic civil registration and vital statistics system directly into NIMC's national identity database.
The National Population Commission remains firmly committed to the existing compact agreement involving NPC, NIMC, ALGON, and BTL, which provides a structured framework for our collaboration. We are also encouraged by the progress recorded under the UNICEF-supported Digital Birth Registration Program.
Recall, President Bola Tinubu launched the federal government's Integrated Birth Registration and Name Issuance Initiative in November 2023, where the first baby was enrolled and issued both a birth certificate and NIN simultaneously. Since then, birth registration by NPC automatically triggers a unique NIN generation for infants aged 0 to 12 months, with the Commission commencing full digital registration of births and death in the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. However, the NPC chairman raised concerns over the current backlog of approximately 10 million records awaiting NIN generation, in addition to 557,603 records already transmitted but still pending NIN issuance.
We therefore respectfully request the urgent reactivation of the handshake protocol to enable the automatic generation of NINs from validated NPC records within the shortest possible time frame.
Responding, Director General NIMC, Engineer Bisoyeko Kaudushote, said the backlog wasn't from NIMC, but Banksford Technology Limited, a third party / technical consultants to NPC on birth registration of a newborn and NIN issuance.
The pictures of the capture of the baby's pictures is not up to the ICAL standard. So, which means that they have to sort of, and what we will assist with is to help you train those agents that are going to do doing the capturing.
The meeting concluded with a resolution that the respective technical teams convene to finalize the reactivation of the handshake protocol, agree on license activation, and develop a comprehensive schedule for technical training to improve NIN issuance for newborns. From the nation's capital, Beto Bryan, Adbn News.
The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to promoting digital technology and bridging the digital divide among young Nigerians. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Honorable Ekperikpe Ekpo, stated this on Saturday while inaugurating a new Information and Communication Technology ICT Center at Ika Comprehensive High School in Ikorakpanwa Anwa in Ika local government area of Akwa Ibom State. Adbn's correspondent Emmanuel Silas tells us more.
The newly inaugurated ICT Center at Ika Comprehensive High School, Ikorokpanawa, in Ika local government area, is designed to provide students with access to digital tools and enhance their technological skills. Facilitated by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Honorable Ekperikpe Ekpo, through the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. The project is part of efforts to empower students and youth in the community and prepare them for a technology-driven future.
The development of your own community, because not one single individual can do anything that will better the lives of the people of this place. Rather, the government can do it.
Representing the Executive Secretary of the NCDMB, Engineer Felix Omota Shola Obe, the Executive Director, Corporate Services, Dr. Abdul Malik Halilu, said the initiative was aimed at bridging infrastructural gaps and broadening the intellectual and digital capacities of students.
Nigeria's economy in the era of fifth technological revolution, where remote operations and artificial intelligence is the new normal.
The Permanent Secretary of the Akwa Ibom State Secondary Education Board, represented by Mr. Udemu Udofia, alongside the Chairman of Ika Local Government Council, Barrister Utwe Nwoko, pledged effective supervision.
This benevolence came at the time
we need it most, as WAEC and NECO examinations shall henceforth be digitalized in our secondary schools. We again have another 50 units in Ikorosukbong, Ika Secondary Commercial School. That shows us that Ika is the leading light in ICT.
The school principal, Mrs. Nkomomoite, the project contractor, Engineer Sidbe Alexander, and the community representative, Chief Udak Akada, said the center will provide students with digital skills.
Appreciation to the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, the proud sponsor of this modern ICT center.
What did the core mandate of Nigerian content? Building of capacity, empowerment, skill development. Sir, Nigerian content have done well. We will not allow anybody to steal or spoil or damage this great project.
From Ikorok-Panawa, Ika local government area, I am Emmanuel Silas, Adbn News.
Troops of Operation Hadinke have arrested a soldier declared wanted by the Nigerian Army over alleged supply of military accoutrements to terrorists and other criminal elements. In a statement signed by the Acting Military Information Officer, Headquarters, Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hadinke, Captain Muhammad Goni, the suspect, Private Muhammad Yusuf, was arrested at Jidari bus stop in Maiduguri while allegedly attempting to flee to Cameroon. According to the statement, preliminary investigation revealed that the suspect absented himself from his unit in Lagos on July 7th and later relocated to Maiduguri, where he went into hiding. He was declared wanted on July 23rd over the allegations. The suspect is currently in the custody of 7 Provost Group for further investigation, as the military vows to identify other individuals linked to the alleged activities. Operation Hadinke also urged members of the public to continue providing timely and credible information to security agencies. Behind every drug statistic is a name, a family, and a future at risk. Around the world, substance abuse continues to destroy lives, overwhelm health systems, and fuel crime, making it one of the most pressing public health challenges of our time. In Edo State, authorities say the response is shifting beyond arrest to prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation. In this special report, Favor Sazwa examines the growing fight against drug abuse and the hope being offered to those battling addiction. Here's more.
Drug abuse is no longer just a personal struggle. It is a growing global crisis. In Nigeria, millions battle substance abuse, while the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says more than 60% of drug offenders arrested in the past 5 years are young people.
The Nigerian police, the Nigerian army, the air force, the customs, the civil defense, every other agency can effect arrests where necessary, but they have to promptly hand over to the NDLEA for prosecution. Interestingly, the agency is also saddled with the responsibility of demand reduction, which entails sensitization, prevention, counseling and treatment of persons that are already addicted or hooked on drugs. There is a distinction. Those who deal, we arrest them, we seize their drugs, and we prosecute them. They are criminals. The people who use, they are the victims. They are not criminals. What they have is a head challenge. Here at the State Command Headquarters, we have a 10-bed space rehabilitation center. We are working with the government to see that the scope is expanded. For now, we work with ours. We also work with the psychiatric hospital and some privately owned hospital like the one of Dr. Andy and a few others.
Behind these numbers are real lives, real families, and real dreams slipping away. The Edo State Drug Control Committee, inaugurated by Governor Mando Pewolo, says lasting success requires more than law enforcement.
Another thing I want to say is the introduction of the toll-free line by the chairman chief executive. This brings treatment to the doorstep of individuals who need it. So you can easily call the NDLA toll-free line 0800 10 20 30 40. We have medical doctors and social workers who will attend to you, and this to us is a major boost to the fight against drug abuse and trafficking. Drug can kill your dreams. It can undermine your certificate.
For many victims, addiction begins with a single experiment, curiosity, peer pressure, or an attempt to escape life's challenges.
I was into drugs through my younger brother. Yeah, taught me how to do drugs. So the reason why we were taking the drugs that time was that I was not doing anything. I was into fraud. Like, it didn't get to the extent that I was even selling my things just because I want to take the drugs. Even what does not belong to me, I do sell it.
Recovery, however, is possible. At one of the rehabilitation centers that partners with the state authorities, say treatment extends beyond medication.
And if you look at the statistics, the state is topping the chart with 14% population consuming hard drug. The major of what we're doing right now, we're focusing on their mindset. We have a minimum of 1 month here, minimum. Between 1 and 3 months, we work on their mind, reposition their mindset. We engage the family when they are here. That we are not magicians. So long they're here, if they are living, you must give us assurance that there's something for them to do. We're looking at a time where we should have like a workshop, complete workshop, because these days NGOs struggle to survive, and that is, we're part of it. We don't have financials, we don't have sponsors, so we do all this, putting our heads together to make sure that this youth, most especially because it's the youth that suffers it most, for them to come out of drug, to go back to the society.
The fight against drug abuse is not just driven by security agencies alone. From government to communities, schools, families, and faith-based organizations, the message has become clearer. The ending of drug abuse is now a commitment for everyone. In Edo State, Favor Osazua, Adbn News.
You're still watching Adbn News at 7. Still ahead, business, foreign, and sports stories. Stay with us. You're welcome back. So the Business World Nigeria and the African Development Bank, AFDB, have called for greater African control of the continent's mineral resources through data sovereignty, regional collaboration, and strategic financing. Speaking at the AFDB Ministerial Forum on Critical Minerals in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, urged African countries to work together to maximize the economic benefits of their mineral wealth through value addition and local processing. Alake stressed the need for Africa to move beyond exporting raw minerals by adopting the Pan-African Resource Reporting Code, PAC, to replace reliance on foreign reporting standards. He said the homegrown framework would improve transparency, strengthen control over Africa's mineral data, and support the continent's long-term economic interests. The minister also proposed the establishment of a West African minerals processing corridor stretching from Lagos to Dakar to promote regional value addition, reduce infrastructure costs, and boost intra-African trade. He noted that greater cooperation would enable countries to share resources, risks, and benefits while strengthening Africa's position in the global critical minerals market. The forum adopted the Abidjan Declaration, committing African countries to stronger cooperation, regional infrastructure development, and value chain expansion. The African Development Bank also pledged financial and technical support to help mineral-producing countries attract investment, develop critical infrastructure, and build sustainable mining industries across the continent. Ogun State has secured a $250 million investment for the development of what is expected to become Nigeria's largest dairy farm. The project, to be located in Itoro, Yewa South local government area of the state, will be developed by Pure Dairy Herds and is expected to boost local milk production, create thousands of jobs, and strengthen Nigeria's dairy value chain. The farm will start with about 10,000 dairy cows, making it one of the largest single dairy investments in the country. Company representatives said Ogun was chosen because of its investor-friendly policies, improving infrastructure and strategic location, while the state government described the project as a major boost for agricultural development and food security. The investment is expected to reduce Nigeria's dependence on imported dairy products, expand the livestock industry, and stimulate economic activities across Ogun West. Construction is expected to begin after the groundbreaking ceremony, with the project positioning Ogun State as a leading destination for agribusiness investment in Nigeria. On the foreign scene, French President Emmanuel Macron has convened an emergency cabinet meeting as massive wildfires continue to threaten the southwestern city of Bordeaux, with another heat wave forecast to push temperatures close to 40 degrees Celsius. Authorities say conditions remain highly unpredictable as firefighters battle to contain the advancing flames. The wildfires, which have already forced the evacuation of more than 220,000 people in southwestern France, are now burning about 15 kilometers from the city. Officials say the blaze is being fueled by strong winds, making it difficult for emergency crews to predict its path or mount direct firefighting operations. Fire officials say the Gironde fire has generated a rare fire thunderstorm, creating its own winds and lightning, further complicating containment efforts. Since the start of the year, nearly 98,000 hectares have been destroyed across France, with more than 42,000 hectares lost in the southwest alone. The crisis extends beyond France, with Spain also battling major wildfires that have forced more than 90,000 people to flee communities around Madrid and Valencia. Together, France and Spain have evacuated over 330,000 people, as leaders warn that rising temperatures and worsening climate conditions are making the fires increasingly difficult to control. Still on the foreign scene, the United States has paused military strikes on Iran for a second consecutive night, with President Donald Trump allowing more time for diplomatic efforts aimed at easing tensions. U.S. officials say all military options remain available despite the temporary halt in attacks. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, said the pause is intended to create space for negotiations, while Iran confirmed it has also suspended retaliatory attacks in the region. The move follows nearly 2 weeks of renewed exchanges that shattered the ceasefire reached in June. Despite the pause, both sides remain at odds over the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global shipping route. Iran and Oman have held technical talks on managing the waterway, while the United States insists it is prepared to resume military operations if necessary. Oil prices have risen sharply amid fears of further disruption of global energy supplies. The conflict, now approaching its 5th month, has claimed thousands of lives across the Middle East. President Trump is expected to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House this week, as diplomatic efforts continue, even as public concern over the war grows in the United States. In sports, Ruth Nyong claimed a silver medal for Team Nigeria in the women's weightlifting competition at the 2026 Commonwealth Games on Sunday. The 20-year-old from Akwa Ibom State produced an impressive performance to finish second in the 48 kg category behind India's Mirabai Chanu, who won the gold medal, while Malaysia's Irene Henry settled for bronze. Nyong's achievement earned Nigeria's 7th medal of the Games. The country's previous 6 medals, 3 gold and 3 silver, were won in para-powerlifting, making Nyong the first Nigerian medalist in the weightlifting competition. Her success also ended Team Nigeria's medal drought after a disappointing Saturday, when the nation's boxers suffered defeats and the 3x3 basketball team slumped to a 3rd consecutive loss. Host Morocco women's national football team made a flying start to the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations with a convincing 4-0 victory over Kenya at the Moulay El Hassan Stadium in Rabat on Sunday evening. Morocco began the tournament carrying high expectations after finishing as runners-up in each of the last 2 editions of the competition. The emphatic victory earned the hosts 3 valuable points in Group A, which also features Algeria and Senegal. In the other Group A fixture, Algeria also enjoyed the winning start, defeating Senegal 2-0 to claim all 3 points in their opening match of the expanded tournament in Morocco. Well, that's it on ADBN TV News this morning. But remember to watch us live on DSTV channel 258, on Star Times channel 140, Avo TV app, Limex World TV app, and Niger TV app. For more stories, visit our website at www.adbntv.com. You can also watch us live from every part of the world by logging on to www.adbntv.com/live. I am Chijioke Okafo. Thank you so much for watching. Good morning.
ADBN, a part of you.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns, and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces, salute their gallantry, stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn. A part of you.
Did you know vote buying and vote selling is a criminal offense? Under Nigerian law, the punishments for vote buying and selling includes a fine of 5 million naira, a 2-year jail term, or both. Through strict legislative updates to the repealed Electoral Act 2022 ahead of the upcoming general elections, the National Assembly significantly stiffened these penalties. Under the current legal framework, Section 22 of the new Electoral Act 2026, the fine was escalated from previous limits, which capped punishment at 500,000 naira and 12 months in prison, to not less than 5 million naira and a jail term of not less than 2 years. Additionally, convicted offenders face a mandatory 10-year ban from contesting any election in Nigeria. The stiffened penalties apply explicitly to anyone who unlawfully possesses a voter's card, sells or attempts to sell a voter's card, buys or offers to buy a vote, or sells and offers to sell a vote. All voters are advised against selling their votes. If votes don't count, who would try to buy them? Stay updated on our latest series of voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment Campaign.
It doesn't take a pandemic or an epidemic to know that clean hands save lives. Hand washing is essential anytime, anywhere to protect your health. So keep washing your hands, not just when they're dirty, but even on the go. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep your hands clean.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on Adbn TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
Drug abuse is no longer just a personal struggle. It is a growing global crisis. In Nigeria, millions battle substance abuse, while the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says more than 60% of drug offenders arrested in the past 5 years are young people.
The Nigerian police, the Nigerian army, the air force, the customs, the civil defense, every other agency can effect arrests where necessary, but they have to promptly hand over to the NDLEA for prosecution. Interestingly, the agency is also saddled with the responsibility of demand reduction, which entails sensitization, prevention, counseling and treatment of persons that are already addicted or hooked on drugs. There is a distinction. Those who deal, we arrest them, we seize their drugs, and we prosecute them. They are criminals. The people who use, they are the victims. They are not criminals. What they have is a health challenge. Here at the State Command Headquarters, we have a 10-bed space rehabilitation center. We are working with the government to see that the scope is expanded. For now, we work with ours. We also work with the psychiatric hospital and some privately owned hospital like the one of Dr. Andy and a few others.
Behind these numbers are real says lasting success requires more than law enforcement.
Another thing I want to say is the introduction of the toll-free line by the chairman chief executive. This brings treatment to the doorstep of individuals who need it. So you can easily call the NDLA toll-free line 0800 10 20 30 40. We have medical doctors and social workers who will attend to you, and this to us is a major boost to the fight against drug abuse and trafficking. Drug can kill your dreams. It can undermine your certificate.
For many victims, addiction begins with a single experiment, curiosity, peer pressure, or an attempt to escape life's challenges.
I was into drugs through my younger brother. Taught me how to do drugs. So the reason why we were taking the drugs that time was that I was not doing anything. I was into fraud. Like, it didn't get to the extent that I was even selling my things just because I want to take the drugs. Even what does not belong to me, I do sell it.
Recovery, however, is possible. At one of the rehabilitation centers that partners with the state authorities, say treatment extends beyond medication.
And if you look at the statistics, Edo State is topping the chart with 14% population consuming hard drug. The major of what we're doing right now, we're focusing on their mindset. We have a minimum of 1 month here, minimum. Between 1 and 3 months, we work on their mind, reposition their mindset. We engage the family when they are here. That we are not magicians. So long they're here, if they are living, you must give us assurance that there's something for them to do. We're looking at a time where we should have like a workshop, complete workshop, because these days NGOs struggle to survive, and that is, we're part of it. We don't have financials, we don't have sponsors, so we do all this, putting our heads together to make sure that this youth, most especially because it's the youth that suffers it most. For them to come out of drug, to go back to the society.
The fight against drug abuse is not just driven by security agencies alone. From government to communities, schools, families, and faith-based organizations, the message has become clearer. The ending of drug abuse is now a commitment for everyone. In Edo State, Favor Usazua.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn. A part of you.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces, salute their gallantry, stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
Did you know vote buying and vote selling is a criminal offense? Under Nigerian law, the punishments for vote buying and selling includes a fine of 5 million naira, a 2-year jail term, or both. Through strict legislative updates to the repealed Electoral Act 2022 ahead of the upcoming general elections, the National Assembly significantly stiffened these penalties. Under the current legal framework, Section 22 of the new Electoral Act 2026, the fine was escalated from previous limits, which capped punishment at 500,000 naira and 12 months in prison, to not less than 5 million naira and a jail term of not less than 2 years. Additionally, convicted offenders face a mandatory 10-year ban from contesting any election in Nigeria. The stiffened penalties apply explicitly to anyone who unlawfully possesses a voter's card, sells or attempts to sell a voter's card, buys or offers to buy a vote, or sells and offers to sell a vote. All voters are advised against selling their votes. If votes don't count, who would try to buy them? Stay updated on our latest series of voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment Campaign.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome and thanks for choosing to start your day on Adbn Television's flagship program, Morning Express. My name is Beat O'Brien, and like you can see, I'm not alone in the studio. I'm in the company of my colleague, Cynthia Kosa. Cynthia, good morning to you.
Good morning, Beto. How was your weekend?
Very well, thanks for asking.
Hello, Nigerians. Welcome. This is another beautiful week with us here on Adbn Television. I hope you had a swell weekend as well. Please stay put because we'll have a lot of unraveling in the political space this morning. And I think Beto will do a good job on that.
Yeah, talking about the political window, the 2027 continuous voter registration exercise ended yesterday, July 26, 2026, with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, recording over 6,885,330 new registrants, most of whom were women and youths. Here in the FCC, Action Aid Nigeria, in collaboration with the INEC and Motion, organized a youth registration festival that attracted young persons amid fun fair to enhance youth participation in the forthcoming election. All this data is tracked across multiple phases of the CVR, points to one fact, that Nigeria inches closer to the 100 million mark for voter registered ahead of 2027's general election. We'll tell you more about all of that and all the stories in the news this morning. But first up is our newspaper review segment. Now, a quick reminder, all the headlines to be read out this morning as we have a quick overview of the newspapers are all read according to the editorial guidelines of each newspaper house and are not in any way a position of Adbn Television as it concerns the issues in the news. So that being said, in your reactions, take out some time, do your due diligence before you comment across any of our social media platforms. Now, to start with, we'll take a look at our first newspaper greeting, The Lineup, which is the First Daily, where you'd find the lead story as it reads, INEC registers 6.8 million new voters as 2027 registration closes. INEC registers 6.8 million new voters as 2027 registration closes. Still on the front page of the First Daily, besides the masthead, you'd find First Daily rallies security chiefs, political leaders for landmark national dialogue. South Africa's foreign minister to meet Tinubu over migration, bilateral ties. Gunmen raid Osun PVC Center, cut away voters' cards. Now, beneath the picture of prominence, which shows the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu Center, and is received by the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar, alongside the Sokoto State Government, Ahmad Aliu Sokoto, during a courtesy visit to Sultan's Palace in Sokoto at the weekend. Whilst on the rider, fan probes viral Osubi Airport altercation. Delta Police arrest 9 in highway extension crackdown. Troops rescue 48 kidnapped victims in Zamfara. Serap sues NNPCL over 211 trillion naira oil funds. And lastly, bandits abduct Kebbi High Court judge. Those are the headlines on the First Daily this morning.
Away from the First Daily newspaper onto the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, the story making headlines says, how gunmen abducted Kebbi High Court judge. And away from it, just above it, we have Islamic board to spend 18 billion naira on staff. Soldiers selling uniforms to terrorists arrested. Votes will count, INEC vows as voter registration ends. And going under to the rider, we have flooding. Where is LG's 82 billion naira ecological fund? And then we equally have just under it, ex-defense spokesman demands 250,000 naira salary for soldiers. NDLEA intercepts 10 billion naira drugs at Lagos ports. 4 civilian JTF personnel killed in Katsina. And that's it on Daily Trust newspaper.
Away from Daily Trust this morning, our next newspaper is one that headlines concerns over public finance management as Tracker has flagged projects 70 out of over 2,500 projects for lacking identifiable locations. This is headlined on the Punch newspaper. The lead story on the Punch reads, FG budgets 1 trillion naira for empowerment, SUVs amid rising borrowing pressure. The annotations beneath the lead story reads, allocations exceed combined budgets of 7 key federal ministries. Only 70 of 2,579 empowerment projects have identified locations, says Tracker. Economists question spending priorities, demand accountability. Still on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, you'd find beneath the picture of prominence more stories on the rider. Starting with our bottom left-hand corner. Fake agency scandal. Reps grill Accountant General today. Fake agency scandal. Reps grill Accountant General today. Hoodlums invade Osun INEC office, cut away PVCs. Obasanjo's role in Obi Kwankwaso tickets sparks row. APC drafts Omisore into 276-member Osun governorship campaign cancel. FG raises varsity workers' hazard allowances to 486,000 naira. The picture of prominence has the caption, people queuing to receive meals from a charity kitchen at the Mogaiza camp for Palestinian refugees in central Gaza Strip on Sunday. And then one more headline just besides the masthead as we conclude the overview on the Punch. Opposition split over single candidates to challenge Tinubu. That's it on the Punch.
Away from the Punch newspaper this morning onto the Guardian newspaper, the story of prominence there is one who blames the weak budgeting culture on poverty and ghost allocation. And it reads, how weak budgeting culture aids graft, poverty, and ghost allocations. And just above it, we have electricity subsidy hits 1.78 trillion naira as gas debt nears 1 trillion naira. Oye 6 CBN intervention says Nigerians paying over 300% interest on digital loans app. Budget Office explains PFIPC's appropriation as BMO denies Buhari link to scandal. And just above it, we equally have this news about OPE, which says OPE unveils top 48 teams in the National Innovation Challenge. Now going under, just before the rider, we have voter registration closes amid concerns over access, election credibility. Military rescues 48 abductees in Zamfara as ISWAP finance chief surrenders in Borno. I take it again. Military rescues 48 abductees in Zamfara as ISWAP finance chief surrenders in Borno. And just at the sidebar to the right, you see Osun 2026, a court party raises alarm over arrests and persecution. CPPE dismisses impact of U.S. 12.5% tariff on Nigeria. Gunmen abduct Kebbi High Court judge, kill 3 in Benue. And the story on the rider says, Olodo uprising as a kicker. And it says, Sanwo-Olu urges youths not to glorify ignorance and indifference. And there's this picture of prominence that gives some sort of in-depth analysis to what we've been suffering when we talk about weak budget culture. There you get to see some analysis about how money have been allocated to some agencies, including fake and legal agencies. And that's the much we can capture on the Guardian newspaper.
Away from the Guardian this morning, we'll take a look at our next newspaper on the lineup, the Blueprint, where you'd find residents of the FCT groaning over a high cost of rents. It reads, FCT residents groan on the rising house rents, sick, stronger regulation, blame ordeal on greedy landlords, agents. Government must strengthen urban planning, allow access to housing programs. ISWAP finance chief sons surrender to troops in Borno. Still on the front page of the blueprints, beneath the picture of prominence where you'd find the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, alongside the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and other top members of the APC. Oshun Guba Uzodinma chairs APC's 276-member campaign council. Adeleke Accord adopt Tinubu's 2027 presidential candidates. LCCI urges FG Pencom to suspend proposed 3% increase in pension contribution. Rainstorms displace 200, destroy shops in Castina community. AMCON positions Intel for strategic growth as divestment process begins. NDLEA intercepts ammunition in palm oil kegs on Abuja-Kaduna Highway. Those are the headline stories on the blueprint this morning.
Away from the Blueprint newspaper, onto the Daily Times newspaper. The story of prominence says governance. Tinubu no longer in charge, says ex-SGF. Says Northern Cabal caged him in Abuja. And just above it, we have OPE unveils top 48 teams in the National Innovation Challenge. And just above that, we have, just above of that, we have, 1 minute, please. Yes, just above that, we have Ayedatiwa is Nigeria's rule of law ambassador, Ondo Attorney General says. PSV 2028, the payments revolution set to transform Nigeria. And going under to the story on the rider, it says Serap sues NNPCL over 211 trillion naira oil funds. And that's it on the Daily Times newspaper.
Away from the Daily Times this morning, debates about access to credits and recovery of borrowed sums is headlined on the Daily Independent. The lead story on the Daily Independent this morning, you'd find high rates, government borrowing threatens private credit recovery. Atiku queries Tinubu over domestic debt amid 7.98 trillion naira oil windfall. FG bond boasts health education admissions to curb professional deficit. FG boasts health education admissions to curb professional deficits. Beneath which you'd find on the rider of the Daily Independent, Army arrests soldier declared wanted for supplying military uniforms to terrorists. AMCON targets strategic investors for Intel as recovery hits 165 billion naira. CBN boosts cyber defense with new security operations center. ADC presses Tinubu over 176 Kwara abductees 5 months after. Two more stories above the masthead. Top left, gunmen abduct High Court judge in Kebbi. And lastly, Serap sues NNPCL over failure to account for 211 trillion naira oil funds.
Away from the Daily Independent newspaper, onto the News Direct newspaper this morning. The story of prominence says Uzodinma, Masari, others lead APC National Campaign Council for Oshun election. And just above it, we have NDLEA intercepts 10 billion naira cocaine loud at Lagos port. New U.S. tariff unlikely to have impact on Nigerian economy, says CPPE. Nigerians suffering despite 7.98 trillion naira oil revenue, says Atiku. And just underneath that news, we have OPE unveils top 48 teams in the National Innovation Challenge. And going under to the story under the rider says telecom base stations to migrate from diesel to renewable energies as NCC, REA, Inc., MOU. Oshun Guba, INEC to conduct mock accreditation on August 1st. And that's it on the News Direct newspaper this morning.
Well, for want of time, we'll just take one more newspaper before we usher in our guest into the studio. And talking about the 2027 polls, talk about the Obi Kwankwaso ticket is garnering momentum as Peter Obi hints at a one-year term with a call to the North to support his ambition. This is headlined on the Nigerian Tribune. On the Tribune this morning, you'd find 2027 on the Tribune, not the Telegraph. North should trust me with presidency, Peter Obi says. North should trust me with presidency, Peter Obi says. As the strapline reads, says only inclusive leadership can truly heal Nigeria. Only inclusive leadership can truly heal Nigeria. On the rider of the Nigerian Tribune, you'd find Tinubu may meet more Oyo APC stakeholders as power tussle intensifies in Kwara, Benue. Shafaruddin Ali widens scope of peace moves. Kwara stakeholders await Abuja's final verdict on Guber candidates. Ali's loyalists battle for tickets in Benue. Opposition weakens as against Niger governor. 7th week of incarceration, hardest for us. Rescued Orire school principal narrates ordeal during Thanksgiving. Ondo Assembly crisis deepens as speaker fights for survival. Lawmaker opens up cans of worm. Hoodlums invade Osun PVC distribution center, cat away voters' cards. The sidebar is a health study that suggests consumption of common sweeteners linked to faster decline in memory, thinking skills. Kanu, Lagos, Edo toppers INEC concludes final phase of continuous voter registration. Nigeria well positioned for inclusive growth if reforms continue, says the International Monetary Fund, IMF. And lastly, power sector. Nigeria needs $228 billion in electricity investments between 2026 to 2045, says the presidency.
And that's the much we'll be taking on the newspaper headlines this morning. And we'll go on a short break. When we arrive, it will be time for the newspaper review. Stay with us.
Did you know vote buying and vote selling is a criminal offense? Under Nigerian law, the punishments for vote buying and selling includes a fine of 5 million naira, a 2-year jail term, or both. Through strict legislative updates to the repealed Electoral Act 2022 ahead of the upcoming general elections, the National Assembly significantly stiffened these penalties. Under the current legal framework, Section 22 of the new Electoral Act 2026, the fine was escalated from previous limits, which capped punishment at 500,000 naira and 12 months in prison, to not less than 5 million naira and a jail term of not less than 2 years. Additionally, convicted offenders face a mandatory 10-year ban from contesting any election in Nigeria. The stiffened penalties apply explicitly to anyone who unlawfully possesses a voter's card, sells or attempts to sell a voter's card, buys or offers to buy a vote, or sells and offers to sell a vote. All voters are advised against selling their votes. If votes don't count, who would try to buy them? Stay updated on our latest series of voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment Campaign.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. ADBN. A part of you.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns, and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces, salute their gallantry, stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
It doesn't take a pandemic or an epidemic to know that clean hands save lives. Hand washing is essential anytime, anywhere to protect your health. So keep washing your hands, not just when they're dirty, but even on the go. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep your hands clean.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on the program this morning as we begin a review of some of the prominent headline stories making the rounds this morning and speaking to the issues in the news. Joining us on the program this morning to lend his thoughts as we dissect these issues is a veteran broadcast journalist, a media strategist, a public affairs expert, political communication consultant with decades of experience in journalism and public service. He has held key media advisory roles at both state and federal government levels and has worked with leading media agencies, including the likes of AIT and Galaxy Television. Internationally trained and widely respected for his expertise in governance and strategic communications. With us in the studio this morning is Alhaji Rashid Olariwaju, a public communication consultant. And should I say, a very familiar face going back to over a decade in Cross River. It's good to meet you again on the program this morning, sir.
Nice meeting you.
Good
Always
to see
a pleasure.
you, sir.
You guys are doing
Pleasure.
a good job. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So how are you doing?
Very well, thanks for asking. No need to ask, I can see already. Without further ado, let's cut to the chase. And to begin with, at the start of the show, we laid a background into the recently concluded 2027 continuous voter registration exercise. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced over 6,885,330 new registered voters. And I would just take a look at some of the demographics in terms of the states topping this rank, but I can tell you for free that Kano is top of this list. But more interestingly, Alaji, is youths and women who are reportedly amongst the biggest numbers in new registrants. What can we deduce from these figures?
Well, taken from the lead according to the INEC reports, expectedly, when it comes to political awareness, give that to Northern Nigeria. And when you're talking of Northern Nigeria, of course, Kano tops the rank. So, the figure they have been giving is actually what Nigerians are expecting. Awareness are ongoing. And I believe because to register is one thing, to come out to vote on the day of election is another thing. I think those who have registered now will know that they have the mandate of whosoever they want to choose to lead them in their various constituencies at both state and federal, and of course at their state and federal level when it comes to the executive
So
power.
you just said something that to register is one thing, to come out and vote is another situation entirely. So are you trying to say that the number of persons who have actually gone for their voters registration are actually doing that for the sake of it, or what do you make of that? 6.8.
No. I mean, history is just there for you to examine what I've just said. Year in, year out, we've always have increase in number of voter registrations. But when it comes to actual voting, apathy is always the word there. So I think INEC should not stop at registering the voters alone, but of course the continued sensitization of the electorate who will eventually come out to vote is very, very important, because what we usually have in the past, and you can use even the recent Ekiti election as an example, is that you will have a gamut of numbers of registered voters, but when it comes to the day of voting itself, the usual voter apathy is what you have. And whether we vote or not, they will always, choose whoever they want, and that is a very bad omen when it comes to electorate in Nigeria.
Now, despite the records of voter apathy in the past, this new registration figure pushes Nigeria closer to a total of 100 million registered voters. Like you said, to register is one thing, to turn out is another. In 2023, we saw that despite having over 93 million registered voters, the numbers that produced, take for instance, the presidential election was less than 1/3 of that figure. Quite surprisingly, when we look at the youth's participation as well, the youths largely did not turn up to vote as well. What do you make of this, would I call it, fear factor, that voting only is for formalities, the votes don't count as assumed by many Nigerians?
Again, that is exactly what I was trying to explain. I think INEC should not stop at, come and register to get your voters card alone. They should continue to sensitize Nigeria on why they should come out to vote. That is one. And it is not only INEC. We have federal government agencies that are responsible for information and orientation in this country. I'm talking of NOA. That is the only federal government agency that we have in 774 local governments across the country. So they have this responsibility now, to sensitize Nigeria day in, day out on why they need to come and vote, and the importance of that coming out to vote should be established. It shouldn't be only federal government. I mean, when we are talking of election is at the grassroots level, election is local. So we have local government, we have states who should take this responsibility as well to sensitize Nigeria. It's very important for Nigerians to come and vote. I hope, I can only hope that we are going to see changes this time around.
So given the list of voters on the chart, grading it by state, it seems that Kano has the top number of registered voters. And we also know that in Kano State, they have over 70% of literate citizens, but also struggling or grappling with literacy crisis and also foundational school deficits. Now, given all of these fundamentals, how come we still have them having this high sense of voter registration? What would you owe that to?
No, history has an answer to what you just asked. I mean, when it comes to political awareness, Northern Nigeria has always taken the lead. Okay. Because, they have one line of communication, and that communication usually syncs to them, either in the mosque or through their traditional rulers, whom they respect very well. So it's an history that has been there for long. And even when it comes to Nigerian population, I think Kano and Lagos are dragging now. I don't know which one is bigger as at present, but as at the last population census in Nigeria, according to the authority, I think Kano has a bit number.
But then again, sir, I still want to ask, over the years, it's also been seen that even though they have this high population and also have this very serious awareness as it comes to political informations and about voting, we still also see from the northern Nigerian that there are illegal voters, permit me to use that word, in the sense that underage citizens are also permitted to vote. We've seen incidents.
It's not only in northern Nigeria. I think in some part of southern Nigeria that happens too. Yes, it's not acceptable. I mean, it should be condemned in every ramifications. And those who are saddled with the responsibility of conducting election, and of course those who are saddled with the post-election, assessment, should look into that. Yes, we've had a couple of information to that effect in the time past. I hope it will not come this time around. But whether you accept it or not, when it comes to political awareness and voters turnout, I think northern Nigeria usually take the lead.
Looking at the charts there on the screen, like you rightly said, after Kano is Lagos as well, Sokoto, Imo, Osun, and Borno. Permit me to highlight Osun. They're number 5 in the southwest with 238,240 new registrants, and we're edging towards the off-cycle election just a couple of weeks away. One sad report coming in from Osun this morning is that hoodlums had invaded the INEC center there and carted some PVC away. What's your take on this, and how does government at all levels guard against voter de-enfranchisement?
Okay, taking cue from the Osun incidents, I mean, again, if you are a keen political followers of politics of Osun State, then the core state of Osun, under the Agbeshola leadership, you should know that Osun State are a bit educated. Everybody is aware of what is going on, and when it comes to political power, they actually know what is good for them. And political history also has it that crisis when it comes to election period in Osun is somewhat inevitable because of some certain factors. And one of those factors is that Osun State has some big whips who are always want the power to be on their side. I will not mention him, but I mean, when you go to history, you can find out. So, but Togri and political crisis is what every right-thinking citizen should condemn. I join others who have been condemning to condemn what is actually going on right now in Osun State. Truth is that when it comes to election, you have no business in going into Togri or importing thugs to come and be part of the electoral process. Yeah. Let the citizen freely choose whosoever they want to lead them. The fact that you are in government, whether at the state or at the federal level, doesn't mean that it's a must for you to win. After all, it is the electorate that will vote at the end of the day, and they freely choose whosoever they want as their leader, not the other way around. So let's watch and see, and let's see what the security agencies are going to do. The IG was there the other day, but shortly after he left, another crisis erupted. So we can only hope and call on the security agency to live above the board and ensure that there is peaceful election in Osun State and across the country as we are, gradually getting into the campaign and election period. One thing all the gladiators should know is that election will come and go.
Very true. Talking about the FCT, there have been creative ways to ensure that there's more civic participation and engagement. Just on Saturday at the City Park, we saw INEC with the Movement for the Transformation of Nigeria and Action Aid Nigeria all partner for what they called a Turn-Up Democracy Festival. There was on-site registration for young persons who had failed to register, applications for those who want to transfer their polling units and whatnot. And generally, some of the feelers we got from that interaction is that Nigerians were urging them to have more creative events like this, noting that some people during the week are busy with their work and cannot leave that to queue up to get their PVCs. How best do you see civil society organizations partnering for more creative ways to enhance civic engagements?
I think things are changing gradually. That incident you mentioned now, my finding revealed that it was actually the creation of the Nigeria Governors Forum, vis-a-vis the INEC itself, and the IPAC, that's political party bodies.
Yeah, the Inter-Party Advisory Council.
God bless you. Because I was in Calabar over that same weekend you mentioned, and I saw almost the same thing happened. You know, the popular 1111 roundabout was full of activities. You know, INEC, civil society member, IPAC, and youths and women groups. All of them, you know, were just forming activities. And you know, once you form activities around a particular section of strategic location in any state capital or any part of Nigeria, naturally you will see people around, either by way of dancing or by way of speaking or by way of, you know, sharing one or two things. In that process, they get to know what exactly the people who are doing there. So that caught my attention too. I had to stop and actually ask what are they doing, because I remember I passed through the first day I saw, the second day I saw. So I said, is every day carnival here in Calabar? And I got to know that that was exactly what was happening. And I made findings in few other states, and it looks like that was what was happening. So I think that is the new innovation that both INEC and other stakeholders in electoral management board and electoral process are introducing now. That is a very good.
So, sir, trying to place side by side the chart for 2023 voters registration and this year's voters registration, I get to find out that one of the top 5 as of last year was Rivers, as against what we have now, Imo State. What would you make of this rapid change and increase in the voters registration for Imo State and maybe the East generally? What would you owe it to?
Awareness.
Awareness.
Political awareness.
Interesting.
Yeah. You see, Nigeria has population. Maybe not exactly what we have officially now. There are a lot of school of discovery that the population in Nigeria is, you know, given to the world now is actually more than that. And there's this school of thought that even says that the population in southern Nigeria is bigger than that of northern Nigeria. That is not an authoritative statement. What we have as a statement from the authority now is that we have thick population in Nigeria, and Kano is topping the charts, followed by Lagos. So what you have in Imo State is not unexpected. You should know that the governor of Imo State is one of the top governors in Nigeria now when it comes to political activities.
So you do not think that is owing to the fact that they would need to have an identification, a means of identification. That's why maybe they thought it wise to go get one. You know what it is today with having a means of identification, rather.
No, it's still part of it. Don't forget that voters' registration is part of the population census. It's part of data management strategy. So, Imo State is having what we are seeing now, perhaps, maybe because of huge awareness from the state. Because if you look at the population census of southeastern Nigeria, you know that Imo is not even the biggest. So maybe more people are coming to Imo now than before, or maybe there are more childbirths and increase in population of Imo State now. That is subject to verification, but given what we are seeing, that is the figure given to us now. Maybe the civil society, the media, another stakeholder need to verify the information they are giving us, actually.
All right, let's come to another topic in the news this morning, and it's one that has been gaining grounds, particularly on public finance management and budget performances. Now, 2026 budget as reviewed by Tracker has flagged 70 out of over 2,500 projects as verifiable, whilst others largely remain unaccounted for in what he says is 1 trillion naira has lined in the budget for empowerment and the purchase of 39 SUVs. A trip to the Tracker verified Twitter handle will give you more insights, as we also have some infographics that also depict some of these line items in the 2026 appropriation bill and the concerns over a decline in capital spending. Now, Alhaji, for the last 3 years, our budget circles have overlapped with a reported underperformance and non-releases to MDAs and even the execution of capital projects. When we look at such reports from Tracker, is it an area of concern, or how best can citizens be empowered in quotes?
Certainly not. Certainly not. Nigerians are struggling to get even one meal now. Nigerians are looking for a better life. Social amenities are in shortfall. Basic infrastructures, as expected, are not actually in place. So when you see news such as this, it baffles ordinary citizens why our leader take us for granted. At the end of the day, they will come back to us to seek for our votes. And what you expect as an ordinary citizen is not even what you are seeing. Well, Nigerians are watching. You know, one thing about this country is that we follow information very well. They are seeing, at the end of the day, I don't want to predict, but I know that there's going to be, or there are going to be a lot of magic and surprises in the coming election. So, and one of the reasons why Nigerians will take their decision is actually what
these surprises you're already hinting at. We saw some of them during the primaries for the political parties, particularly for members of the National Assembly. Some sitting senators and reps members who failed to secure return tickets. Nonetheless, some political parties are being accused of replacing the names of successful party primaries with already sitting members in what they call an internal affair resolution mechanism. In as much as Nigerians would also be required to vote in the forthcoming elections, do you think that this political party interference in some instance might still deter the outcome of the choice of the people?
Yeah, some of these issues you raise are sub judice already. Some of the members who won election but names were replied, some of them are already in court. White doors have been placarded not to go. Some are asking that they should remove their cases from the court of law. But others are still there. So I think we should leave it at that. Let's see the surprises that court will give. But outside that, I think political parties are dwelling on the ruling of the Supreme Court that every political activities are internal affairs of the party. Why another ruling is saying that electoral process is a procedure and every procedure should be followed. And one of the procedures is that you must contest a primary using the electoral law as we have it now, open direct primary or consensus, unlike the way it used to be before. So all of them follow, and those who won, but surprisingly, they saw their name being changed by the authority. So let's wait and see what is happening. That is part of the surprises I talked about.
So, like we are aware, some time ago, the wife of the present president, Remi Tinubu, she came on air and she was promising the wives of the APC leaders, the women leaders, that they were going to get vehicles. So now that we're seeing SUVs, 39 SUVs, do you think that these are the vehicles allocated to those women APC leaders, or is this still an empowerment program for Nigeria?
No, certainly not. There are two different things. Okay. What she promises to the women. And this one has a direct sources of fund that can be traced. You understand? What you are talking is a complete different thing. Okay. So don't let us mix it up so that Nigeria will actually know what this particular one is for. So the wife of president can promise anybody. She's the mother of the nation. Don't forget that she has donated a lot of money on tuberculosis. On this. So filling the gap of where the government ministry or agencies ordinarily are supposed to do. That is why she's the mother of the nation. Our effort is voluntary. Don't get it wrong. So whatever she's doing across the country is voluntary service to Nigerians, to women, to children, to underserved, and, you know, the rural community. So she can promise anything as long as it is in line with what the pledge she made, not an official matter like
this. Quite interestingly, referencing this on the screen is a screenshot from the tracker handle. They go on to list the 7 MDAs where they say this money is even surpassing their budget. It says this is more than the combined 960.27 billion naira allocated to 7 key ministries. Industry, trade and investments, 156.8 billion. Housing, 145.3 billion. Women affairs, 169.39 billion. Justice, 150.7 billion. Livestock development, 177.6 billion. Aviation and aerospace development, 87.3 billion. Petroleum resources, 73.1 billion. Yet, only 70 out of the 2,597 empowerment projects have clearly identified implementation location. This raises serious accountability concerns. How can citizens track process?
A lot of things that used to be covered up before are now in the public domain. People will continue to now examine and take it one after the other. But let me quick to say that, you know, this is just, anything budget is a proposal. They are yet to be implemented. So even if it is approved, it doesn't mean that the money is available to do it. So it is when they implement and we begin to examine exactly what they implement. Vis-a-vis the budget proposal approved, then the budget proposal approved, then we can be talking.
What do you make of the non-identification of the locations of where these empowerment projects are supposed to reach? Don't you think the government of the day owe it to Nigerians, that transparency and accountability?
Sure, part of what they sworn in to uphold. I mean, allegedly, if this information is correct, it means that there's a diversion somewhere, allegedly.
All right. Thank you, Alhaji Olariwaju, sir. This is as much as time will permit for us to discuss, but we're hoping to have you in our studios not too long going into the future.
It's my pleasure, and I'll always be around.
Thank you. Good to have you here, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
There are more items in the news this morning.
Thank you very much.
There are more items in the news this morning to be discussed. After this quick commercial break, our next guest will join us on the program as we continue our review of prominent stories in the news this morning. Stay with us.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn. A part of you.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces, salute their gallantry, stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division. not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
Did you know?
With time ticking down towards the end of a 2-week extension from the original July 10 deadline for continuous voter registration as provided by INEC, this festival provides a last-minute window for more eligible citizens to access the INEC Voter Service Desk, either to register for the first time, apply for transfer of polling unit, or seek replacements of damaged or lost PVCs.
It's actually an idea from ActionAid, and ActionAid brought INEC in to see how we can partner to ensure that youths are the main target of this program, so that youth can come out to ensure that they are actually registered to vote in the forthcoming election.
This is the start of this. This is like the piloting it at the urban center at FCT. So there are other programs that are targeted at the grassroots. So there will be markets engagement, town hall engagement, so different kinds of engagement at those grassroots levels.
In separate remarks, the event organizers underscored the importance of free civic awareness concerts aimed at mobilizing young citizens to participate in the elections.
Turn up for democracy. Democracy begins when the people make that decision to be part and parcel of their own government, of their own system. And that process starts when people take part in voter registration exercise.
The whole essence of this is to deal with a problem. What is the problem? The voter apathy issue in the country. And we discovered that the largest number of population fall within the demographic of the youth in Nigeria, which is about above 60%. So if 60% of your population is not really turning out to vote, I think there's a problem.
Some participants who spoke to Adbn News expressed delight at the opportunity as the extended CVR deadline closes July 26, 2026.
This is the hope for tomorrow. This is our future. So if we don't get to vote, we don't get to have that better Nigeria we're all clamoring for.
To be honest, the process has been very seamless, everything well organized. I really commend the officials, both the INEC and the ActionAid officials. Everything was very timely, well organized. The system worked perfectly, and I really want to commend them and appreciate them.
The event, organized by ActionAid Nigeria in partnership with the INEC, specifically targets youth demographics. It is a registration party here in Abuja. Vito Bryan, Adbn News.
All right, you're welcome back from that very important infomercial there. And we're back with a very important guest in our studios in the person of Mr. Wilson Inaligu, the retired Assistant Inspector General of Police. Sir, it's a privilege to have you in our midst this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes,
Good
sir.
morning.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Without further ado, we'll start with the police regulations and the Police Act as guiding documents for police operations. But with a changing and fast evolving political landscape, particularly with the concept of state policing gaining momentum, there's also been instructions coming from the Office of the Inspector General of Police. Now, debates on what the new legislation will provide in terms of a chain of command and order is left to be seen. But in the interim, the IG has had to make clarifications on this order of the use of force in policing. Nigerians now have challenges with noting how much force is required to be used. And greeting our screens this morning is part of the memo on that clarification. For the sake of our viewers at home, we'll go through it before I pose my first question. It says, clarification, what the Inspector General of Police actually said in Makurdi. At a stakeholders meeting in Makurdi, Benue State, Inspector General of Police, IGP Olatunji Rewan Disu, did not issue any shoot-on-sight order as widely misreported. What he actually said was that officers have been briefed on Force Order 237, which governs the legal and operational conditions for firearm use, and that they would know when it is appropriate to deploy their weapon in line with established rules of engagement. He further stressed that illegal arms possession and killings would not be tolerated. The public is encouraged to view the attached video of the Inspector General's actual remark for the full context. We'll take a listen to the actual video, but at this point, I'll come back to the studio, sir. Mr. Wilson, now that it's on paper, it's clarified, Nigerians already are traumatized, and I'll tell you why. If you go to Delta, one of the recent extrajudicial killings by a police officer is the most recent in memory. Back to other incidences of police brutality that led to the NSAS protest in 2020. So you'd find out why Nigerians might be skeptical of this shoot-on-sight order and reference to the Order 237 as aforementioned. As a former police officer, what's your experience in this regard, and how best can officers use their discretion on when it is indeed necessary to exhibit such rules of engagement?
Well, thank you. When it comes to discretion, but I just want to take you back. I think the understanding people must have is that the police is a creation of the law, and the police will not act outside of the law. The Constitution, the fundamental principle of, or the fundamental human rights, guarantees the right to life. And then the police also has a duty to maintain public order and peace. So, and the police, what I think try to do all the time is kind of create a balance between that fundamental human rights and their duty to maintain law and order and peace. Now, the Force Order 237, Force Order is an administrative instruction, but it provides guidance on how the police will use a firearm. And the IG has clarified on that. The Force Order before generated some confusion, but in 2019, the then Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, he, with the ICRC, International Committee of the Red Cross, because of the concern by civil society organizations, they looked at the Force Order and looked and said, look, take away one word and all that kind of thing. So the idea is, and that the Force Order said, look, when an officer is attacked and he faces a danger of imminent death or serious injury, and he has looked at every circumstance, there is nothing he can do, then somebody fires a shot at the officer dodges, and the man still went looking for, again, firing shots, then the officer...
That's self-defense, as a core principle.
Yeah, that's self-defense. Or somebody is attacked, and the officer intends to. Might be somebody is well armed, about 2 or 3 people, they are macheting somebody. The officer comes to protect the person. Perhaps they have even severed one of his hands. And there is no way the officer can protect that person that is under attack. And he has explored all avenues. And there is no other way he can save the life of that man from imminent death unless he uses his lethal weapon. Then he may use. But
that's last resort.
It's as of a last resort. And so the standard operating procedure provides that, look, you must exercise responsibility in the use of weapon, firearm, lethal force. And it is as a last resort, like you rightly mentioned. So the IG did not go out to say, look, it is the police It's a civil force. And the police is very interested in the relationship they have with the public. So the IG, as a core professional that I know him, will not go there. And I'm happy they didn't waste time to issue that clarification. And then another thing that you must understand, there's individual liability, individual responsibility. That means if you just... On the police? Yes, on the police. Okay. You cannot claim now that, look, you are performing official duty. If you use your firearm carelessly, that somebody gave you instruction, one senior officer, no, you are personally liable, because when you go for police training, every exam, you must take exam in 4237. The circumstances. They used to be 4, but there are 3 now where you can use your firearm. And that should impact on the way the force is deployed. So you cannot say somebody stole granite or somebody stole 10,000 and you are chasing the person. Oh, thief. The next thing you carry your gun, bam! No, you've committed murder.
That's the proportionality.
That's the proportionality of the use of force. So, but if somebody, for example, kidnaps a child and has a gun to the head of the child, and you try to, I mean, of course, you're going to use persuasion and all that kind of thing. But if you begin to bring harm to the child, and you say, if I don't do something, this child will be killed. But not that somebody just come to checkpoint, you flag the person down. You have not been told that he has committed an offense that will warrant like a felonious offense. I hope you understand.
Yes, sir.
It might be just an armed robber just coming from a bank. They have shot people and they're escaping. And you can't do that. So the idea is that there should be that proportionality in the use of force. And there is also individual liability, that the individual officer will be subjected to internal disciplinary measure and later handed over to the civil court to undergo trial like any criminal. So the idea is every officer must be responsible for his own action when he misuses his firearm, because those fundamental human rights, the right to life, which is sacrosanct, the force takes it seriously, and the IG did not give order shoot at sight or shoot on sight. No, that's not correct.
All right, so at this point, we'll take a listen or a look at the video in question to actually do a proper analysis of whether there was actually a shoot on sight or not. Stay with us as we display the video.
Fight a war that is older, richer, safer.
Sound.
That is designed by people who are older than us.
Sound, please.
And most of the time when this crisis happens, they walk
away. Sound.
They walk away without being scratched. Every one of you who have picked up a weapon, you have become a target. We are tired of this issue of attack and retaliation. When you attack, you expect retaliation. We are tired of it. And that's why I've come here today, to meet with you, to discuss with you, to bring message from you, from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that this will no longer be tolerated. This will not be tolerated. We are giving instructions to our men. We are the only ones recognized to carry arms around. No other person is entitled to do that. You cannot move around freely, carrying arms as if there is no law and order in this country. It will not be tolerated. We have given them necessary instructions. We have a Force Order 237. Police officers have been told they don't need to wait for any superior order. They know where to deploy their firearms. We are tired of losing our men. We are tired of police officers, soldiers, and other members of security agencies dying anyhow. They have been instructed, they have been trained to do what is necessary. But we know we will not succeed without the cooperation of all of you seated here. And aware all the stakeholders who are capable of bringing peace to this state are sitting here. And by the grace of God, I do not want to leave this stage today without bringing solution to the problem we have at hand. At that, I would like to stop and get contributions. So that is why I came here today. And for your information, I will be a constant visitor to this stage until we have the peace that we desire. Thank you so much.
So there you have it, the actual footage of the IGP actually making reference to the Force Order 273 on the discretion of police officers on when they do not need superior order to do so. But the challenge with Benue as a hotspot now is what the IGP bemoaned in terms of the loss of men of the police, and not just men of the police, across all the armed forces. The current insecurity in the country has seen them as targeted species in our fight against banditry and terrorism. And this brings me back to an earlier point. Recall that before the IGP was changed, then we had Kayode Egbetokun when the president visited Benue. And many months down the line, we still live with this recurrent killings of civilians and even policemen. Do we see in no distant time an end to this? And notably, now that we're having a federal police service, there's going to also be a change of nomenclature. What's part of the rejigging with state police going to do for this incident in Benue?
Well, I think if you have more boots on ground and you engage in preventive action, like you know that the core duty of the police has primacy on internal security, has primacy on public order and prevention of crime. I think what we are discussing falls within the realm of prevention of crime. And that involves community engagement. And when you see if you find things like this happen, you've got to look for alternative. What do you do? And you try to see, look. But when there is nothing you can do, so the police, as whether you have state police or federal police service, the standard is same. If they are professionals, and so what we expect. But if some people decide to say, look, we are going to be violent, and you cannot even go and approach them, then it's a different thing altogether. So the police in that preventive action, and that is why the Police Act 2020 as amended, I think section 105 or 110 or so, talks about police community policing committees, just like PCRC, Police Community Relations Committee. That means bringing the police, bringing the public. Every police station should have a committee. And that committee, what do? You have these traditional rulers. You have the local government officials. You have the DP, you have the military. You have the civil defense, the DSS. All this coming together. And that falls within the realm of early warning and response. Because this has happened years before they begin to manifest. So if you have effective and improved early warning mechanism, and you're able to respond, that chieftaincy dispute in that community may have been on for 10 years. But how has it been dealt with? That is the early warning. This one said this family is not qualified. The family said we are qualified. They go to court, they come down. So these are early signs that there could be conflict. Or people complain. We have strange headers. They eat our crop. It's not being taken care of. Or our animals are being killed, all those things. So those are early warnings. So if you take care of those early warnings and respond to them, and when we talk about response, we're not talking about response through a little force. We're talking about getting them together and say, look, what's going on here? And then if we are not able to deal with it at that our local government level, we escalate it to the state level. If the state can't deal with it, because from the local government, it's happening in local government, A, B, C, and D, then they escalate. So the thing about security in dealing with is doing the right thing. It's just like a wound. If you allow a wound to fester for a long time, it becomes difficult to cure. So the idea is, if you look at the National Security Architecture, National Security Strategy 2019, and the National Security Strategy Framework 2025 to 2030, it tells you about community engagement. It tells you about early warning and response mechanism. So if you look at the National Security Strategy Document 2019, National Security Strategy Framework 2026 to 2030, if you implement all this, if you implement the relevant provisions of the Police Act, you are able to catch this, nip this in the bud, and they will never get to escalate. That is just, so you will not sit here and be talking about the use of lethal weapon, because if somebody has a gun, you shoot it in the public and you shoot, there could be a misfire. It could meet a stray bullet. So the best thing, you can curb it, and in curbing it, the issue of early warning, that is having people in communities, training community safety officers, having ways of sending, say, look, we are noticing some movement in our community, and it goes to the right source. So this involves mobilizing the entire population. So when you say security is everybody's
responsibility,
it is not just in words. It's in doing things like this that you make it everybody's responsibility, because you have created a role for Mr. Peter, you have created a role for Mohammed, you have created a role for Wilson, and if we are playing those roles, you will see that, why is our place so calm? You don't need a gun to keep order, solve insecurity.
So I just have one very important question before we wrap up, please, if you don't mind. There's standard of procedures, standard operating procedure rather, for the police to actually carry out their duties of safekeeping of the community and everything as such. Talking about issue a clear warning and caution by bystanders and proportional force, these are the cautions they give before they shoot if they need to shoot.
That's true.
Now my question is, there are some trigger-happy police officers. Where is the place of training, or should I say, how often are the police officers going through training, thorough training, to enable them to be able to abide by these rules? And talking about the Force Order of 237 and all of the Police Act in general.
Yeah, I think it's always regrettable each time an officer misuses his weapon. And I think the police management takes it seriously. It is not allowed, it's not permitted, and I think stern disciplinary action is taken. And you cannot pass out of any police training if you have not been properly trained in the use of firearm. And that is why, even if a superior officer observes that your kind of mannerism is not stable, it's not balanced.
So you're saying there's no recurrent training?
Oh, no, there is development training. We call it development training. Okay. And these trainings take place all the time, because you should be able to dismantle and assemble your weapon. You should be able to get your target. And then when we go to the range, the police is not trained to shoot at the chest. You shoot below the knee to disable and this. And that is why when officers go out of that, action is taken. So trainings are conducted. You remember when I started that there is no police exam. If you go for sergeant or NCO development course or inspector development course or even senior officers course, there must be a question on Force Order 237 because life is sacred.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson Inaligu, for your time on the program this morning, speaking to the issues at heart. We'll go on another quick commercial break, and when we return, we'll move on to other items on our program menu this morning. Do well to stay with us.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn. A part of you.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns, and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces. Salute their gallantry. Stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
Did you know vote buying and vote selling is a criminal offense? Under Nigerian law, the punishments for vote through strict legislative updates sections, the National Assembly significantly stiffened these penalties. Under the current legal framework, Section 22 of the new Electoral Act 2026, the fine was escalated from previous limits, which capped punishment at 500,000 naira and 12 months in prison, to not less than 5 million naira and a jail term of not less than 2 years. Additionally, convicted offenders face a mandatory 10-year ban from contesting any election in Nigeria. The stiffened penalties apply explicitly to anyone who unlawfully possesses a voter's card, sells or attempts to sell a voter's card, buys or offers to buy a vote, or sells and offers to sell a vote. All voters are advised against selling their votes. If votes don't count, who will try to buy them? Stay updated on our latest series of voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment Campaign.
Okay, but we are all doing good together. That's why tonight, to show just how much I care about the press, and I want to save your ratings, I'm pleased to announce my intention to, and this is somewhat of a scoop, my intention to run for a 4th term as President of the United States. I will be doing that. I will be having an official, in fact, I think I have, I won 3 times. Now I'm going to do it again. Thank you. I'm going to do it. Should be easy. I'm getting very good at running for president. No, I won 3 times, did very well the 2nd time, by the way. It's a rigged election, but we don't have to talk about it. You know, it's interesting when you come back and you do a good job like we did.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on the program this morning. By now, you should have also preempted our next focus, which also delves into the world news. There speaking, President of the United States, Donald Trump, hinting at ambition to run for presidency for a fourth term come 2028. But does the Constitution of the United States, much like the Federal Republic of Nigeria, permit for a fourth term? The answer is no. The 22nd Amendment blocks any president from running for more than 2 elective terms. The 12th Amendment also blocks a 2-time elected president from serving as vice president. But what does this ambition hint at a rejig of the American? Who would give us more insights on Donald Trump's fourth presidential ambition? Hello, Amma. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're looking splendidly fabulous. If there's any
You're
English
too
combination like that.
kind. You're too kind. Thank you so much.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now to the business of the day. We also just watched the clip over there, and we saw the hat. Make America Great Again. Donald Trump's slogan is MAGA coming up for a fourth presidential term. What can we deduce from that?
Well, this is a classic case where you see where, democratic actions and conversations around politics, they trickle down to individual policies around constitution change. It now ignites debate about, election polling, how people are interested, what the masses really want. But bring it back to Donald Trump now. We have seen him make some ambitious claims over the years, and this is his latest yet. And we could see that he even donned a face cap, Trump 2028. Under the Constitution of the United States, much like the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which we all run a presidential system, under the Constitution in the United States, a president cannot have more than 2 terms. The only president in history who had that part of the Constitution ratified was Franklin D. Roosevelt. And since then, we have not seen such an occurrence anymore, in the United States history of presidency. So Trump coming up now, technically, can he run again? No, according to the Constitution.
All right.
You don't think he is trying to impute some form of...
Hold on. Let's widen the conversation as well. We have another guest joining us virtually. We have Simbo Olorufemi, who joins us virtually and would be a part of this discussion as well. Simbo, good morning to you. I see you, arms folded, very serious look. Welcome. Thanks for joining in.
Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Thank you.
Now, we've gotten Amma's view on the matter as well. Quite interestingly, what's your take? I believe you had seen the clip as well. Kindly react to it.
Yeah, I think, both you and Ahama, you've laid the right foundation. Constitutionally, it is impossible, technically speaking, for that to happen. But, President Trump does not believe that there's anything that is impossible. He's carried on over time, trying to tweak the envelope as much as possible, he's always taken to the hedge, and his belief is that is practically the best thing that's ever happened to the United States of America. And he believes that even the Constitution can be amended to accommodate him. But this particular instance in which he was speaking, it was more in a jocular form. But then, because this is not the first time this is making it to the public, you might say that there's some element of seriousness that might be attached to it. Because if he's made move, for instance, the American Constitution confers citizenship based on birthright. He's tried to amend that to ensure that people who are born in America, maybe not necessarily of American ancestry, cannot retain American citizenship. So if he's gone that far to do that, who knows? Who says that he might not want to go further? But you must, for instance, it's said categorically that this is a fourth term, continuing to insist that he won the election in 2020, whereas by the records he didn't win. So you might say that, well, he's a guy, he's trying to just rile up the people, but in another, you might look at it from another angle and say that There's nothing impossible.
He might be serious. Now, Mr.
Be.
Simbo, we know that constitutions provide the grand norm on the operationality of leadership in countries, but there's also the hard process of a constitution alteration or an amendment or whatever coinage you choose to use for it. In the US, going through this hard process would require 1/3 of Congress forming quorum and at least maybe 3/4 of the states as well to reach this consensus should President Donald Trump's ambitions be anything to go by. Looking at Congress and its state at the moment, do you think he'll be able to sway Congress in that direction for constitution alteration?
No, not at all. No, there was a time that he had a bit of a firm hold on the Republican Party, particularly on the Congress. But you see that it's lost popularity over time, and the midterm elections are coming soon. We should give us an idea of how strong he still his hold on the Republican Party is. I don't think at this point in time it's that strong to be able to get a majority votes in the Congress to be able to let him pass such an amendment. It can't happen.
Okay, Mr. Simbo, Trump has always shown his bold assertions with statements. He's never been one to be joked with. When he says a thing, he goes for it. So given that, I know you made mention that he might have sounded like someone who is joking, but he's not. What do you make of that in the global space? Do you think that might want to sway? Hello, sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, but I didn't get the last part of your question.
Okay, I
didn't
said,
get the last
I
part
know
of
you
the question.
mentioned, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I said Trump has always been one who has been boldly making assertions, and those assertions usually go with actions. He has never made an empty statement. He has always been actionable towards them, rather. Now I'm saying, now that he's making mention of this statement, even though it sounds jokingly, like one of to crack jokes with, but I know he's serious, going by his precedents or antecedents, rather. I'm asking, looking at what is going on now in the political space, particularly with the United States of America, do you think globally the world might want to copy in that light, given some African countries or others who might have copied democracy from the United States? What do you make of it?
Yeah, that's a very good one that you raised there, because, America has always set itself as like an exemplar in terms of democratic practice. That's why it's unfortunate that what we've witnessed with the Trump presidency is a tragedy for those of us who study democracy all over the world. You see, by reason of his alignment, he tends to want to align himself with people who have dictatorial powers, people who you might not regard as having been elected democratically. So you tend to see, I mean, the relationship with President Putin. He's to have this liking. There's something about him. He likes authoritarian figures, and that has not been a very good signal to other countries, particularly, like you said, African countries who have struggled with democratic practice. For him to be sending this kind of signal, it's not a good one at all. To live up to democratic expectations, it gives the idea that if this can happen in America, that is something that is globally acceptable and is a direction that we might want to go. So it's not a good one at all.
All right.
All right, thank you, Mr. Simbo. Let's come back to Ama in the studio this morning, talking about the culture across the globe. Back in Africa, we've been hardlined on other countries in the likes of Uganda, who have had presidents who have outstayed their terms. Elongated tenures are becoming a thing. And Mr. Simbo has also kicked against it. Is the fear that this Trump ambition might now be the model for other nations to model after? What's your view on this on the global stage?
It's a really interesting take, because when you see political narratives and basically narratives, they're basically being controlled by world powers, the United States being one of them. But when it comes to democratic rule of law, like you've mentioned in Uganda, some countries like Uganda, Cameroon, we've seen the presidents extend their stay and keep on staying in office. We've seen that happen. But it now trickles down to what is, in loose terms, what we would say separation of powers and checks and balances. So you do understand that the president is elected separate away from, away from the parliament, which is the legislature, and away from, every other arm of government. So you see that there's supposed to be an autonomy, and these other branches of government are supposed to checkmate the activities of the president. So taking this analogy now to a country like the United States, I highly doubt that the Senate, no matter who the people who would want to, cross fences and of course who their support would be, but it's going to be really hard. You would need at least 38 out of 50 to vote yes, and that is going to be a major challenge, because if you look at conversations that emerge from the U.S. Senate, there are questions over the war in Iran, there are questions over, Trump's recent decisions, the ratifications, and of course, the things that he's giving executive consent to. So there are lots of questions in the Senate. There are also questions about the people who he is electing in office. So it's going to basically generate a lot of debate. It's going to also bring up scrutiny of the arms of government to see how they respond to this kind of changing dynamics when it comes to the political system.
I want us to liken this discussion vis-a-vis the whole democracy and the balance of power thing. Yeah. It's interesting that it's coming up, and it's coming up at the right time, if you ask me. This is because we are at a time where the youths are actually questioning the place of democracy. Exactly. What if the American citizens are actually interested in having the youth presidency to come up again? What if they can decide that through their ballot? What do you make of that, looking at democracy and the balance of power?
I think it would be a wonderful change, and of course it would mean that more young people are interested when it comes to conversations about leadership, when it comes to conversations about politics, the legislature, and of course how the rule of law should exactly be examined. It would be a wonderful thing. Like, take, for example, the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations is a young person. And, it's not something, an office or a position you see a lot of young people aspiring to. The New York's mayor is one of the youngest mayors to ever hold that office. And of course, that is exciting. It's bringing lots of excitement among young people. So should we see a young person come and decide to be, run against President Trump? I really don't know what the reaction is going to be, but trust me, it is really going to ignite conversations. And of course, like you said, the ripple effect, it will ripple down to Africa. So we would believe that, okay, but then again, that shouldn't be the narrative. We shouldn't wait until the path forward or the decision is being decided by world powers and then it trickles down and we decide, okay, we should do this. I think it's just a wake-up call that young people should be more involved in politics. And of course, this is the political season, even in Nigeria, and these conversations should be running across young people's circles, because that's the way we can prepare ourselves and move forward to rule.
All right. With less than 5 minutes as we look to conclude on this discussion before we move on to other things, let's see if we can bring in back Mr. Simbo to react. Mr. Simbo, now the conversation narrows in down even to Nigeria. And talking about Nigeria, it's quite interesting when we discuss the separation of power ideology, noting that currently in our bicameral legislature, both houses have the majority when we talk about the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, who have maintained that they must be in arms with each other as they look to provide better government. Half of the time we have bills which have been scrutinized by the Senate and the House of Reps, and it goes almost in a fell swoop without passing through voice votes, and it receives overwhelming support. Now, for constitution alterations, particularly with reference to Section 135 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it provides that the president can only serve a single term of 4 years, and at most 2 terms of 8 years. And if the vice president, according to Alteration 12, serves the remainder of a term in terms of the death of a president, he can only then vie for a single term. But we've had discussions on an to propose its homegrown democracy. What best way can we actualize this going forward?
Well, I'm records have canvassed for a parliamentary system. I know that's not what the question is about. The question is about the details of the presidential system that we run. But I'm of the view that Nigeria is better served with a parliamentary system because it's leaner, is not as expensive as the presidential system. Then it makes sense of change. There's some downside to the parliamentary system, as you've seen recently. The last years, you see what's been going on in the United Kingdom, that they've been changing prime ministers within one year, 2 years. We've had like maybe 6 prime ministers in the last 7 years. So that is not something that speaks well for the parliamentary system. But I believe that given our peculiarities, that we should be looking at like some hybrid of a presidential parliamentary system, something like maybe like what we have in South Africa or in France. And that Nigeria does not need to have more than a unicameral system. And particularly when I'm talking about the parliamentary system, I believe that at subnational level, we have no business having a somewhat presidential system at subnational level, at the state level, where the state governor our governors are like emperors. The legislature, the House of Assemblies are just there like appendages to the executive arm. There's no form of checks and balances, no oversight. So why are we wasting so much money having 2 arms if we fuse everything together so that the leader at subnational level, because it might be more complicated at the federal level. That's why I'm taking it to the subnational level, at the state level, where the governor makes appearances. All the people who serve as commissioners are people who have been elected by their people. So we don't have a case of where who are appointed commissioners are people who have not stood up for elections. Then the governor shows up at the parliament and can be queried and questioned. People can see what's going on real time, unlike what we have now. I think that will better serve Nigeria, and I think it will help us in terms of cost saving. It will help with transparency. People can connect more with government. Anybody who is, now we have a situation where we have ministers who are completely disengaged or don't even have anything to do with their direct. There's no direct link between people who are serving as ministers and people who are and the people. Whereas in the parliamentary system, for you to be a member of cabinet, you must have won your election in your constituency. And again, we talked about young people and technocrats making it into position of leadership under the presidential system, as you see in America or even Nigeria, particularly since we're talking like that. It's almost impossible because of the cost of running elections. It's massive, and there's a pipeline within the party systems that does not allow for someone who does not have a godfather or who does not have the resources to be able to make it up the ladder. But if you're in a parliamentary system, all that you need to do is concentrate on your constituency, in your lead to constituency. If you excel, people in your constituency believes that you do well, they elect you to the parliament, and it becomes easier for you to be able to emerge into a leadership position.
All right, Mr. Simbo Olorufemi, thank you for joining the conversation this morning and lending your thoughts to the discourse. You're much appreciated.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Amma, do you have a contrasting opinion to what Mr. Simbo has said? You mentioned about parliamentary system of government and all that. What's your take?
I think, these are systems that have been put in place based on the heat of people. So I think it's for us to now see what the US people will decide. Because one thing I am particularly interested to see is how the debates that arise from these conversations that have been there to make sure that it works. So that is another thing. Looking and seeing, I don't know what would happen at this period.
All right. Thank you, Amma, for your inputs to the discussion. We appreciate you for coming on the program.
Thank you so very much.
It's always a pleasure.
Now, our next discussion is one that centers on the debate of Nigeria's population since the last conduct of our national population and housing exercise. This is in view of our commemoration of the World Population Day celebrated on the 11th of July annually. Our next guest will be speaking to concerns on our population growth, debates on where Nigeria's population stands. Statistics say we're well over 230 million people. Some say 242 million people. Others advocate for a NIN-backed census where every Nigerian has a national identification number, more like a social security number for those in the United States. But as it stands, the body of government saddled with registering Nigerians for their NIN only has in its database 136 million Nigerians registered. What happens to the well over 100 plus million who do not have NIN in the registration database? All of this will come into concern when our next guest is in the studio. Stay with us for this and more.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn. A part of you.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns, and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces, salute their gallantry, stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
Both NPC and NIMC share inherently complementary mandates in advancing the federal government's vision of a robust digital identity ecosystem anchored on the principle of one person, one identity. And as such, this collaboration integrates the NPC's newly deployed electronic civil registration and vital statistics system directly into NIMC's national identity database.
The National Population Commission remains firmly committed to the existing compact agreement involving NPC, NIMC, ALGON, and BTL, which provides a structured framework for our collaboration. We are also encouraged by the progress recorded under the UNICEF-supported Digital Birth Registration Program.
Recall, President Bola Tinubu launched the federal government's Integrated Birth Registration and NIN Issuance Initiative in November 2023, where the first baby was enrolled and issued both a birth certificate and NIN simultaneously. Since then, birth registration by NPC automatically triggers a unique NIN generation for infants aged 0 to 12 months, with the Commission commencing full digital registration of births and death in the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. However, The NPC chairman raised concerns over the current backlog of approximately 10 million records awaiting NIN generation, in addition to 557,603 records already transmitted but still pending NIN issuance.
We therefore respectfully request the urgent reactivation of the handshake protocol to enable the automatic generation of NINs from validated NPC records within the shortest possible time frame.
Responding, Director General NIMC, Engineer Bisoyeko Kaudushote, said the backlog wasn't from NIMC, but Banks for Technology Limited, a third party / technical consultant to NPC on birth registration of a newborn and NIN issuance.
The pictures of the capture of the baby's pictures is not up to the ICAL standard. So, which means that they have to sort of, and what we will assist with is to help you train those agents that are going to do doing the capturing.
The meeting concluded with a resolution that the respective technical teams convene to finalize the reactivation of the handshake protocol, agree on license activation, and develop a comprehensive schedule for technical training to improve NIN issuance for newborns. From the nation's capital, Beto Bryan, Adbn.
Yes, it's no longer news that we're having Nigeria's World Population Day today, and a lot is going to be unraveling around this topical issue. And to do justice about Nigeria's population and all that bothers it, we have someone of capacity with us today in the studio, in the person of Dr. Kehinde Sheun Adi. She is the Director, Population Management and Development Department. Good morning, ma'am. You're welcome.
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, like you said in the background, annually back here in Nigeria, we celebrate it on July 11th, but debates on Nigeria's current population have sparked concerns and the demands for a national exercise to verify the number of Nigerians we have. It's largely debated, are we over 230 million, 240 million? This debates about our population are some of the reasons why in commemorating the World Population Day, we need verifiable data to be able to say this is a Nigerian, that is a Nigerian, and how do we plan for all Nigerians within and even outside the country?
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here because this is an avenue to really talk about this important thing. We all know that National Population Commission, among its mandate is census. Yeah. But aside census, we have other avenue of getting data, and that's other survey activities like through the vital events, that's CRVS, registration of birth and death, and the NDHS. Now, NDHS is Nigeria Demographic Health Survey. It's also a survey that, like a sample survey that gives indicators are on the standard of living, wealth quintile, health, education, and all that. But we all know that these are sample surveys. But census is very much elaborate. Like at least 90-something% of Nigerian population must be counted and be given information about them must be registered. So fine, National Population Commission is in line with that. And then like you said, the last census was in 2006, 20 years ago. Meaning a child that is 20 years as at now, we don't have the record. Is that what we're saying? Yes and no. Why I'll say yes is because the vital registration would have captured that child.
And what is the vital registration?
That's registration of vital statistics. That's CRVS, birth, death, and migration. Migration in and out. Now, fine, census ought to be taken every 10 years. the last one, 20 years. But aside that, we have projected figures. It's just that the projected figures cannot really be validated in the sense that you will have numbers, not quality of the numbers. Whereas census will give you the quality of each numbers, which is very, very important. Because we are not talking about numbers alone. We need to disaggregate and now work on that quality, the age brackets, so that we'll know how we'll make informed decisions based on that characteristics and socio-economic standard of each person.
Now, this disaggregated data that we're lacking, is important to also note that we've missed 2 census cycles in keeping with recommendations of UNESCO and even the World Health Organization in our planning. But we've seen concerted efforts in partnerships since the president set up the 8-man committee to plan for the census, the NPC, one of those partners, and then talking about digital identity as well, NIMSI is also supposed to work in that regard. So far, how far were the outcomes of the committee's findings?
Okay. Let me start from when we were preparing towards the census as a 2023. The last administration actually gave us a backup, and we started with a lot of preparation. So just towards the tail end of actually doing it, that it was stalled. Reason that it was stalled, on the side. But aside that, immediately we have the new transition of another government, a committee was set up, which is what you are referring to. And they've had series of meetings. They've even made recommendations to the president. And our chairman is actually the secretary to that committee. Now, as at that time, we had a past chairman that was the secretary. Now we have a new chairman that just resumed December. So you can see that the process will have to start all over because there will be an handing over what has been done to him for him to get that started, and which he actually did. There was another meeting with the past and the former chairman, with the president, Dr. Aminu Yusuf, and they've sat, and you could see based on what is happening now that there are a lot of collaboration, like you said, NIMSI is there, collaboration with Ministry of Education as well, so that we can tackle a lot of population issues. Because as we are linking our own data with NIMSI, we also monitor, because when you talk about population, it's not just giving numbers. That numbers must be translated to something. So we are collaborating with a lot of key stakeholders that needs to contribute to that being done. So like you said, that the committee, they actually met, they've had series of meetings, and as at recently, I know our chairman actually submitted another memo to the presidency concerning that. Okay. So they are really on it.
Okay, so Doctor, you made mention of having quality data, and that can only be made possible with a national census. Now, with that being said, I want to know, do you have a contingency plan aside having NIMSI at the corner, just so that you can have that quality data?
Now, thank you for that question again. Like I said, that we have other sources of generating data. Okay. And which are, like I said, NDHS, Demographic Health Survey. Okay. Education Survey, Nigeria Education Data Survey. Okay. VASA, Verbal and Social Autopsy Survey. That's to check on mortality, children and mothers. And vital registration, like I said, that's just administrative data. Registration of birth and death and migration. Now, combining all this, we will come up with national policy on population for sustainable development. Now, in this policy, we have like 3 institutions, which I believe will answer what you just asked. The apex of that institution is National Council on Population Management. This is shared by our presidency, co-chaired by the vice president. The second is Population Advisory Group. That is shared by our chairman, Dr. Aminu Yusuf, while Population Technical Working Group is chaired by our Director General. Okay. Now, all these 3 institutions, they meet. The only issue that we are trying to work on is that convening of that council. The Technical Working Group has been meeting seriously, and they've been giving report to the PAG, Population Advisory Group. Now, it's that Population Advisory Group that should give report to the council. So these 3 institutions work together to make sure that relevant data are ready, as are when due, and they are implemented based on the policy.
Still talking of relevant data, as we all know in Nigeria today, It's no longer news that there are some persons who were not in school. There are some persons who have died, and they didn't die in the hospital, and they were not even taken, they didn't take that due procedure to make sure they register that death or birth of any child as such. There are some persons in that category. So given this category of persons, how do you take their data?
Now, that's why we had to upgrade our CRVS.
Okay.
Now, that's registration of births and deaths. That's civil registration on vital statistics. We needed to upgrade it and create a lot of awareness to people to see the importance of registering the births and going to the hospital. Like I said, the DHS survey, NHS survey will state those that are going for antenatal and those that actually delivered.
Now, my question is still having a little hiccup somewhere.
Okay.
I asked, what about those persons who do not have the availability of an antenatal care
That's
and all of that?
That's where I'm going to. This survey, NDHS, will let you know, because it's a survey that will lead you to an area that you'll be able to link up with these people. Now, the result from the DHS will definitely be given to all the controllers of all the local government. We have offices in all the local government, 774.
Okay.
So with that result, they are supposed to go back and do sensitization and advocacy. And that's why we have a lot of partners helping in that aspect too.
All right.
So they create awareness to people to let them see the importance of registering your birth for identity's sake, legality, for a lot of social amenities, access. So by the time they go around, then people are able to go back and do their normal birth registration. Now, along the line, they're able to educate those that are yet unborn, that's the pregnant women, that please make sure you go to the hospital for delivery, because we have centers at this clinic that will give you your birth registration immediately, your birth certificate immediately once you are there.
And just to add, as part of what we featured, the partnership for an automatic issuance of birth certificates and NIN numbers for newborns. Now, this brings us to our next discussion, which is the youth demographics. I know in the commemorative observance of the World Population Day, as observed on the 11th of July, Nigeria also has its own itemized celebrations and how we choose to highlight the commemorative observance, particularly towards planning for our largest demographics, which are the youths.
Yeah.
Can you go over some of these plans and how it translates into actionable progress?
Yeah, July 11th. And after the global launch, then other countries will now pick their own date. So our date is tomorrow, 28th of July. And like you said, when you talk about population generally, you don't look at them as population, pyramid of age of your population. There's a dependency age, 0 to 14, and 65 above, that's the retiree, the aged. But the bracket between 15 to 60, these are the productive age. Fine, we will say that 15 should be in school, but it's not all of them that are in school, you know. So that's why I say 15 to 60, even 60 plus, because university lecturers now 65. Now, within this productive age, how is government able to harness the productivity of that age to get impact back into the economy? Now, the last census, the figure says 63% are youths. Now,
that was 2006.
2006.
20 years ago.
Yeah. Now, the projected figures is giving us up to 70% youth. Now, we need to know the characteristics of these youth. Are they educated? Are they employable? Do you understand? So by the time you do a census and you're able to see this, then you now know how you will make your informed decision based on this productive age.
Yes.
You're able to harness that energy, that productive age. Now, how do? You create an environment where there's education, there's skill acquisition, there's health and well-being, and then youth participation in governance. We have pillars to this demographic dividend. So when all these pillars are followed to tail, as in well-checked and balanced, then you're able to harness that energy from the youth. Like now, the theme for this year is the youth aspiration. And we are trying to say how we can harness that, their aspiration. They have ideas. But you see that this productive age is very good if you're able to harness it, and that's when you can get demographic dividend.
Well, we must thank you, Dr. Kinde. For want of time, this is where we would leave it. I'm sure tomorrow, from the reportages filed in by our correspondents, we'll be able to spotlight Nigeria's contribution and our commemorative observance of the World Population Day and the investments in a sustainable future for the youth. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you
much.
so much, ma'am. Permit me to have this handshake. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Kainde Shehu Adi is the Director of Population Management and Development, Department of the National Population Commission, and she's been speaking to us on Nigeria's commemorative observance of